Hey, what's going on? JD here, and this is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Let everybody know that you are here and that you want them to join in the conversation. Hopefully, you are having an absolutely fantastic Thursday. For those of you who may have forgotten, we only do the Daily JD now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the rest of the week you're just going to have to do without. But thanks again for tuning in. Again, smash that like button. Again, also as well, follow me on socials at Paint Inc. You can catch me. All the links are in the comments there. You can check those out. And of course, I always tweet live. And remember to smash the bell button to get notifications and all that kind of good stuff. So again, hope you are having a fantastic Thursday. Good to see you, Brian. Thanks for dropping in. It has been a very cold week, getting our first dose of snow, and it's just trying to get back into sort of the winter scheme of things and setup. I much prefer summer and in my workflow then, so just trying to get my days back in sort of order. I feel like I've been lagging a little bit behind in those regards, but got some interesting stuff to talk about. As always, if you have any comments or anything that you want to discuss, by all means, throw something down in the comments. I go to the comments all the time. Hey, good to see you, Craftsmith Cosplay. Thanks for tuning in. As well, you'll notice a color difference. I did not set the color camera as well like I usually do before the show, so I probably appear very bright in comparison. But depending on how long I talk for the day, that'll probably change, because I definitely noticed on the last stream on Tuesday that as we progressed into the stream and as I continued to talk, things just kept getting darker and darker, and that's because sort of my big key light is a window that points to the south, and that's where the vast majority of the light comes in. So as it gets darker in here, and generally speaking, because I use such a big key light like the window, instead of sealing it up, I just kind of, dial down the darkness on the camera. So I haven't done that today. It's all set in auto, so we'll see how that all sort of turns out. But before I get too far, of course, I want to remind everybody that on the 25th of November, noon, we have a YouTuber hangout at the Rec Room. I've put that up on Eventbrite. I will throw that link into the comments. Please do RSVP. Everybody's been really good about it. Lots of people have RSVP'd already, and that is absolutely fantastic. Thanks for letting us know that you're coming out. I think we already have a dozen people signed up for it, which is kind of crazy. Which I'm excited. It's really good. I mean, there's still a couple weeks left. A lot of people don't RSVP at all and show up, which is cool too, but I prefer the RSVP because then we can have an idea of how many people are going to show up and if we're going to have to make some adjustments. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited that there's some new names and some new faces in that list, and hopefully I'll get to meet you guys out there at the Rec Room and be looking to have a good time. Scott from the Path Less Traveled will be there. That will be super awesome to have you out at one of those events. If you have not seen the Path Less Traveled, you should definitely check them out as well. It's actually funny. Somebody asked me for a bunch of music recommendations, and my recommendations were as followed. I recommended Path Less Traveled, Open Air, Crack the Lens, the Motor League, and I think the Antwoord, if they hadn't listened to it. So that was kind of where we're going. Joss is just viewing an ad, and he is here. Good to see you, Mom's Universe as well, and good to see you, Jerry. Thanks for all tuning in. Woohoo! Sounds like the meetup is going to be fun. Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit of a lead time. When I set it up, I didn't realize it was Grey Cup weekend. That might actually help in a little bit. It might be one of those things that kind of starts early, and then people end up watching the Grey Cup there and having a good time and, partying up Grey Cup. That'd be awesome. So that'll be super cool. Rec Room, like I said, I go there on a regular basis, kind of hang out, play pinball, eat poutine is kind of my routine, and just, generally have a good time. So it should be fun. And like I said, they've been nice enough to give us some wristbands to hand out to some of the attendees. So that's going to be awesome. So, I think the way we're going to work that is those who RSVP first will be selected for that. So make sure you do RSVP if you plan on coming, and we'll take it from there. Jerry says, I'm just going to show up and blaze some blunts like no tomorrow. I didn't even know you smoked. You and Lloyd can hang outside and blaze all you like. That will be an interesting thing to see. I think, as far as Calgary goes and as far as establishments goes, I think the transition to marijuana being legal has been pretty standard, and I think really nothing has changed in those regards. And I mean, it's just getting kind of treated like smoking at this point, so that is fine. Josh says, I just found some old Jam footage from Jam, and now I have the itch again to jam. Nice. Rec Room, again, yeah, is super fun. Bullshit Corner, do they have more than 2 pinball machines now? No. That's kind of my biggest complaint is there's not a lot of pinball machines, but I understand why they probably don't have a ton of pinball machines, because we're not necessarily, being an almost 50-year-old guy, the demographic that they are targeting necessarily. I think those pinball machines are kind of there. If you happen to take your kids, that dad has something to play, and that's kind of thing. If you're looking for straight up pinball to play, the best place probably to go for that is basically Pin Bar. So Pin Bar down on 17th, they have a ton of pinball machines. That's all the bar is based on, is basically pinball. They've got everything from Dirty Donnie Gillis's pinball machine to most of the rock ones. So they have Metallica down there. They've got AC/DC. They probably have the new Maiden one. They had Rob Zombie. They've got a bunch of different ones like Mars Attacks, as well as The Walking Dead. So they've got a ton of machines. And the cool thing about Pin Bar is what they do on Sundays is they actually open it up. You pay, I believe it is $10. It's $5 or $10. You throw down your money. The machines are open, and you can play for as long as you like. So if you are a shitty pinball player, it is definitely a place that you can definitely cut your teeth, because you can just play all day long and it doesn't matter. So I mean, Pin Bar's got a good setup. I have not been to Revival Brewcade yet. I know that they do have a few machines and a few older machines as well. Kind of similar concept. That's in Inglewood. But again, I haven't been there yet. I had planned on going, and it opened some time ago. I know that Calgary Video Creators had actually had a meetup set up there, but I'm not sure exactly what happened at the end of the day, whether they weren't ready to open yet or there was some miscommunication, but it never ended up happening. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I never ended up going there. So at some point, I will definitely have to check that out as well. It's definitely on the list. Good to see you, Mitchell. Thanks for joining us. Bullshit Core says, I don't smoke. I still haven't tried, as I've heard the supply in stores is non-existent. I know that we filmed the podcast last week that Lloyd went to one of these places. I think he went to the one just across on Southland Drive. He basically indicated that he got in there right away, and it was like going to the Apple store and buying a computer. You just kind of talked to the guy what he wanted, and he picked it up, and it was that quick. So it wasn't a big ordeal. I think they've got their sort of supply chain a little bit more managed. I know that a bunch more stores have opened. I'm not quite on top of those things, but I think there is a website in town that basically tells you where you can buy your weed online. So you can definitely check that out if that's what you need to do or what you want to go and do. But Lloyd just said it was It was super clean. Yeah, they were super efficient. They just kind of asked him what he wanted. They punched it up on the screen. They went and got it, gave him the containers. He paid, and that was kind of it. So definitely an interesting, kind of experience. It's funny when you think about how things were looked at years and years ago, and sort of where we are now. And it'll be interesting for me, I think, when I hear about what the revenue sales were, what the taxes are pulled in, and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, ultimately, at the end of the time, legalization, decriminalization is not a big deal in my books. The fact that they're taxing it, fine, but of course, like any government, you just want responsible tax-paying governments to actually pay stuff, not just be a revenue stream that comes in and now they're going to spend all that like water. But that's probably asking a little bit too much. There you go. Josh W. just watched the jam clip. Sounds cool. If they ditched the boring race game, they could fit 15 more pinball machines in the rec room. Yeah, I mean, there's actually, I don't know how it's doing as well. There was actually a place in Calgary that opened up with all those race machines. I'm not sure if that place has done very, very well. I know that some people went to visit it right off, but they were all with the hydraulics and stuff. The problem I always find with those kind of race games is there's never enough feedback in the wheels, and it never feels like actual driving. I've spent a lot of time driving cars on the track and race cars, and it just never feels the same. Because you can tell when you're losing grip, you can tell when you're pushing a little far, you're responding to how the car reacts to the road, and these games never get it. I mean, just because the steering wheel gets some feedback and it shakes a bit doesn't make it a full-on racing game. And it's one of those things. It's one of those novelty things, but I would prefer pinball over racing, fake racing, but They definitely have a wide variety of games there, from the climbing walls to you name it. So there you go. Josh says, Pathless Travel, thanks, man. Just messing around. Then got a donaire. Well, that's good. Donaires are always good. Craftsman's Cosplay also went to the same dispensary as Lloyd and had a similar experience. I mean, I think that they've got it pretty dialed in. And I think that, it's pretty much old hat. It'll be old hat pretty quick, I think, as far as dispensaries go. And, basically buying, I guess, legal weed. It's going to be one of those things. I mean, it's not going to go away, and that's the end of it. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's good that they're essentially, taxing it, and that it's available, and, they're not sending people to jail for, possessing a little bit of weed, and, ruining kind of, people's travel plans and all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're going to grow and traffic in a large scale, still, you're going to cause yourself some problems, but there you go. Booze Review says, go to Revival Brewcade for pinball. We just sort of mentioned that they do have some machines. I'm not sure how many machines they have. My pick again still is Pin Bar, unless the Brewcade does something along the lines that Pin Bar does, which is basically open up the machines on a Sunday. I'll let you pay like $10 and then let you go at it. But I have still yet to try out Revival Brewcade again, because ultimately the meetup that never happened there and never got rescheduled. So, but I definitely would like to check it out. It's kind of cool, the resurgence of old video games and pinball, and kind of that it's kind of making a little bit of a comeback. I'm not sure how long that will be. Arcades used to be a huge thing. Like, I mean, if you go down where the C-Train line used to be, there used to be like 3-4 arcades down there. Then there was like 3-4 on Stephen Avenue Mall. It used to be a huge, big deal. But as game consoles sort of accelerated past that, it just kind of became a thing where people, if you're going to play games, you play them at home, you play them with your friends online. So the arcade kind of died. So, but it's cool. Like, I mean, Cineplex, like I said, they've got the Rec Room, some of these other, like at Cross Iron, they definitely have, a presence there as well. There's definitely a lot of these brewery / arcades that are kind of popping up, which is cool. Hang out, play some video games, drink some beer is never a bad time. So there you go. Jerry says, so if I went there and said, I want some weed, that will just make me have a conversation with Jesus in a pogo suit. They will hook me up. Wait a sec, what? So if I went there and said, I want some weed, and that makes me have a conversation with Jesus in a pogo suit, they will hook me up. I guess I'm not quite sure what you mean by that comment, Jerry, but they will hook you up. Apparently, there's some rules about there. Lloyd, I think he talked about them a couple podcasts ago. I mean, there are things. If you go in there smelling of weed, they won't serve you. If you appear to be high, they won't serve you. So it's a lot like alcohol in that sense. If you're really drunk, you're not going to get served at a liquor store, or you're not supposed to get served. You've seen it happen before. But again, it's they're just trying to make it as normal as possible, I guess, and, have some control over what goes on, which, makes perfect sense to me. So, some things to talk about today. So, one of the things I do want to talk about is the Olympic votes coming up. Again, please do go out and vote. No matter which way your vote kind of swings, just go out and vote. Make sure that your voice is heard. One of the interesting things is that the city of Calgary did have an engagement survey online at the city's website, and it shut down. At the end of the shutdown, though, there was a large surge in votes that helped push it over yes. And then what subsequently happened is they found out that 42% of the votes that happened in this survey, which was, so basically over 6,000 people that voted mostly in the last day or two and voted yes, were in fact bots. So I think it's kind of interesting that, I've talked about Bidco before, and the fact that Bidco has been putting money into advertising and they're trying to secure a yes vote. I'm sure if you're going anywhere around Calgary that is any kind of busy, you will see signs for yes. So, I mean, there's just another example of people trying to sort of, manipulate voting and, sort of garnish a yes vote, or make it seem like that's the popular thing. Some things today that I have seen is that, the large majority of people in Calgary are actually no. But again, any of these surveys, it all depends, and there is a relative side of error. I think it's going to be a close vote, and I think it's going to be a widely utilized vote. I think a lot of people will get out and vote. I know that the pre-polling stations were lined up immensely. So, I mean, that's a good indication that people are, they're involved, they're invested, they want to be heard, which I think is really, really good. So, again, when the vote comes about, please do go out and vote. Make your voice heard, and, we will see what happens at the end of the day. Hey, good to see you, Riley. Thanks for tuning in. I agree. Get out and vote, but be an informed vote. And, it's interesting too, because it's all where you consume your media. One of the things I will say is that, it's interesting. Go watch. If you're going to get yourself informed, go take a look at the city council. They tape every city council meeting, and the one where they talk about the Olympics just after it was submitted that they should basically not go forward with the plebiscite, even though they decided on an 8-7 vote to do it, and the reasons why. Bidco was there. They were talking to them. These are the people trying to secure the Olympics and secure the vote. It's interesting to see sort of how much information is kind of not known as well, and it's all laid out there. You'll hear the questions, you'll hear the answers in their entirety. It's not a reporter telling you what's going on. It's not me telling you what's going on. It's just kind of raw information, because I mean, there are definitely some partisan opinions out there, myself included, that want a certain result. Me, I want no. So I mean, a lot of the information that I'm going to tell you is pointed towards no. But definitely what Riley's saying is absolutely valid. Go out and vote, but be informed. Ask the questions, find the answers. Be careful where you find it, because like I said, I mean, if you go to Yes Calgary and that's where you get your information from, it's going to be put in a very pro-positive way. It's better to go to media outlets and, outside agencies, and specifically ones not necessarily in the Calgary area. So there you go. Jerry says, who's going to vote no? If we put a carbon tax on the Olympics, we'll get our money back. No. Yeah, that's it's not going to happen. There's some very creative accounting in terms of what's been put out there, especially in the dollar value return. The 10-to-1 is a highly manipulated number. If you go, there's an article from the CBC that basically breaks down exactly how it goes and how they sort of go with the model to sort of get to that number, and it explains it all to you. But it's very, very interesting. So far, 80,000 did the early ballots, which is huge, because if you look at it, that's approaching, a good number, and that's just sort of the pre-ballots. So it's good that people are going out and voting. It just shows that people want to be heard, which is awesome. Dan says, I'll be discussing it on Saturday on my channel, which is good. Look at the comments on Yes Calgary for some real stuff. Media will always be pushed towards their opinion. Look, even JD wants no. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's an interesting thing. I've said it before, even with myself, and I mean, I am a person that benefits from things like the Olympics, because things like my airbrush business, obviously I have done numerous helmets for numerous Olympics, and it would benefit me to have it not only, sort of media attention wise, if I paint a bunch of helmets for Calgary and I live in Calgary, very easy for me to swing it to get some media attention, to highlight my business, to do these kind of things. But, like I said, the numbers don't make sense to me. So, I mean, it's a no vote in my world, and that's coming from a guy, like I said. If you go to Paint Ink Designs, you can check it out. I have photographs with the British bobsled teams. You can see guys like Sam Edney, Jeff Christie, which are all luge athletes as well. Elizabeth Vanch, who's a skeleton racer. I've painted all these guys' helmets, I'm invested in the Olympics a lot of times. A lot of times I actually enjoy the Olympics because I get to see my work on the world stage, and it's an important time for me. But at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, I can't necessarily justify it. And with the Olympics track history of going vastly over budget, it's not a good thing. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to be left footing a bill as a taxpayer, and that might not matter for me at the end of the day, because come 2026, I should be pretty much retired by that point. It's easy enough for me to get up and leave. But I don't want to do that, and I think, it'd be damaging for the city to have such a high rate of tax and so on and so forth. So there you go. Path Less Travel says, do you think that Calgary's economy was better? It would be a different story. I think if there were definitely more tax funds coming in from, sort of commercial businesses and along those lines, or oil patch, it might be a different thing. But, at the end of the day, it comes down to cost. I mean, if we were pumping money into infrastructure and building things, I think it could be a much different story. But, there's a lot of things in the plan that doesn't make sense to me. Number one, we all saw the plan with the Flames to try to get the marina. They wanted a 50-50 split. It didn't happen. They couldn't come to an agreement on things. Even in this Olympic plan, there's a plan for a new arena, but it's a 6,000-seater arena. There is no plans. They're going to use the Saddle Dome. There's no plans for a new arena, which to me, I mean, if you're going to spend the money, if you're going to host the Olympics, if you're going to spend all that money, why would you not, at least upgrade or do something to, sort of future-proof, where you could have somewhere like the Calgary Flames sit around, instead of basically having the Flames move to somewhere like Seattle in the future, because that's where they're destined to go. A new franchise in the NHL is somewhere to the tunes of like $450-500 million. I think the Calgary Flames were just evaluated at $350 million. I mean, it just makes perfect sense to the owners to kind of sell it to Seattle. It makes sense for Seattle to buy an established franchise with, a good, decent foundation team that they can build on. So, I mean, Olympic wise, why would you not go for an arena at that point? Why would you not, include that in there? Things like the ski jumps, they're just going to tear them down. That's going to go to Whistler. So Nordic combined and ski jump is going to go there. Again, we have some other things like Canmore, which was part of the original Olympics. I mean, it just a lot of it, to me doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of money going other places, than where it should. And, again, like some of the other things, if you were doing key infrastructure things, like if you were saying to me today that for the Olympics, we would have an LRT that goes to the airport, that might make a little bit more sense, but we don't. And it's not part of the plan. So, I mean, some key infrastructure things would make a difference. I mean, cities like Vancouver have an LRT that goes to the airport. It just, it's an interesting thing to me. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. Peter says, hey, good Peter, good to see you. Hey, I hate the Olympic bid. This is coming from a travel and tourism professional. Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff. I mean, the Olympics will bring in money to a lot of businesses. In a sense, for the time being that it is here. I mean, anybody in the service industry that owns a restaurant, that owns a hotel, I mean, I'm sure they will do very, very well, that it'll be very, very busy, that there'll be lots of stuff going on. But to the same extent, does that translate, into money, going against it? Will citizens have to ultimately pay? And that's kind of where it goes. Jerry says, I agree. The economy was better. I'd be all over it. Peter says to Bullshit Corner, if the IOC gave us all the money to cover it. And that's a valid point that Peter makes, is that a lot of money that, especially in that 10-to-1 equation that they talk about, ultimately doesn't come back to Calgary's pockets. A lot of the money goes out to IOC wages. A lot of these things like the ticket sales go to IOC. It doesn't necessarily come back to the city itself. So, and a lot of times they're bringing in people. They talk about the creation of jobs. It's not necessarily full-time jobs, they're temporary jobs. So at the end of the day, it doesn't always play out. Riley says, we always talk about the economy. This is centered around oil and gas. Olympic does bring in new light to our city and surrounding areas outside of oil and gas. True, but it's only for a short period of time. I would rather see, money get invested in new sectors, or new business startups or tax, cuts for things. I think, things like having Amazon headquarters here would have been a bigger boost than the Olympics would ever be. But, at the same extent, it's a sporting event. You come and then you go. It's kind of like people saying that NHL teams are, tourism based. To a degree, people will go and travel to watch things, but it's not a heavy rotation thing. People don't necessarily come and, say, I'm going to invest my money here. I mean, especially if taxation is high, and all these kind of things, and things are expensive, they're not going to necessarily relocate. I mean, Calgary has a lot of things going for it, but, things like, again, the LRT coming from the airport, again, is sort of a backstroke to sort of what's going on. Accessibility is a huge thing. And I can say from traveling all over the place that, Calgary has the most abysmal transit system that I know. It is terrible. And, to be a first-rate city, you need a first-rate transit system. And, it just doesn't make any sense. Anywhere that I can get by car in half an hour, it takes me multiple hours, especially from where I live, by bus and train. It just, it's absolutely terrible. Peter says, I don't want to pay tax upon tax upon tax. No more tax. Jerry says, as oil and gas, it wasn't the case downtown, it wouldn't be a ghost town. The Olympics aren't bringing anything. We would be booming from 1988. And that's also a valid point. I mean, what ultimately examples, and I don't have any off the top of my head, did 1988, bring? There was some interesting stuff that was put out by Yes Calgary. I can't remember the gentleman, but I mean, it was kind of funny. Like he talked about, the moment it was announced, we bought cars, we bought, trucks, and we bought cupcakes, which I thought was funny because in 88, I don't think anybody was buying Crave cupcakes because they didn't exist. But, at the end of the day, you know, that's consumer money. You know, people feel good and they want to spend money. That's great, but that does, again, nothing. That's just going to rack up your personal debt. And then on top of it, if the Olympics goes bust, you know, it's you're going to have even bigger debt on top of that. I think, you know, it's, you know, people say you want to build on Calgary's legacy. I mean, that would be fantastic. If that was a guarantee, then I would be all for it. If you could say that you're going to put on a better Olympics this time and build the super legacy, I would be all for it. You know, save the ski jumps, essentially build a phenomenal transit system, build a new arena for a top-notch NHL team, you know, something that's going to go on and continue. I would be all for that. But again, those key points for me are missing. And again, you know, when we talk about numbers and straight up budget, you know, it's you get very circular answers, which I don't like. So there you go. Josh says, what are your thoughts of the changes to the Facebook creators group? That's a good question. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. I agree for sure. Amazon would boost. That would have been massive, which is very true. They do have the warehouse, which will be super cool. Good. The board is finally listening. What are the changes? I haven't been around. Okay. So what's happened with, the Calgary Facebook creators group. So for those of you who are part of the group or not part of the group, it's a group or community for YouTubers such as yourself in the Calgary area. It's a Facebook group. You can ask to join. You can go there. Some changes that have happened. So basically, you know, the board sort of cut itself down. I'm not sure exactly how that all transpired. I did get a note because once upon a time, before I tried to launch the Digital Expo, where I resigned from the board, I was part of the board, but I ultimately resigned because I didn't want it to be a conflict of interest. I didn't want to be trying to start up a sort of business convention model and look like I was leveraging the group. So ultimately I quit. But I did get a message basically saying that I was going to be removed. We used to utilize Slack to communicate, that I was going to get removed from Slack because the board was trimming itself down to 4 members. And they just wanted to get things, you know, more concise and, you know, get things done was kind of the message I think that was kind of conveyed. So it's Crystal Shea, Jen Hall, Kyle Marshall, Matt Mort. Those are the 4 board members there. So they are the ones that are in total control of what's going on. They wanted more engagement. So basically what's happened with the group is that nobody can post any videos anymore. So if you go there and your latest video drops today, you can't go to the group and start a post saying, hey, check out my new video. I'd like some feedback on this. That'll get shut down almost immediately. So they don't want you sharing your videos in the group like that. They do have what a mega post thread, where basically they have a mega post where you can post sort of thing. They will have it as a week. Initially, that was just a one-day thing. I think Peter helped, you know, sort of get it to the mega thread. But, you know, it's an interesting move. I understand where they're coming from, that they want, you know, sort of people to talk about YouTube and communicate and stuff like that, you know, but to the same extent, I mean, for me personally, I utilize the group as a means to sort of see a lot of people, and especially creators that I didn't know, check out their videos. For those of you who know me really well, know I watch a ton of stuff. I enjoy, you know, kind of seeing, you know, new creators and all that kind of stuff, and want to help them give a boost, because I mean, to be honest, people helped boost me when I was first starting out. And the fact that, you know, somebody would take the time to watch my video and comment and give me some feedback is absolutely phenomenal. You know, so I think that's, you know, kind of, you know, where I sit on that. I think that, you know, it's good. I mean, where it comes bad is that if I just go to a page like that and I just dump videos and I don't talk to people and I don't comment on anything else, and I'm just jamming my videos down your throat, that's where it gets a little nuisance. I guess, or if you're creating a ton of stuff, you know, like myself, this week I put out 5 videos, 2 live streams, 3 videos. You can watch those as well. I'm really proud of the Shaolin Temple one. I've got the Metallica unboxing that came out as well. And of course, every week we have Lloyd and JD. So those are my 3 videos plus the 2 live streams. So 5 videos. So if I was posting those every day, I could see how that gets annoying. But to the same extent, you know, mega threads I find largely ineffective because you just kind of get dumped in and it's just link, 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 link. Most people, I don't even click those. And to be honest, I haven't even really been submitting my stuff at all to the group in that capacity, just because I just feel that it's completely ineffective and kind of a waste of time. But I do miss the fact that people can put out their videos. I do enjoy that. And for a lot of ways, the Facebook group was acting as my notifications, because I'll tell you right now, first off, YouTube notifications for me are still ultimately broken. I get, you know, odd notifications here and there, but I don't get them on a regular basis. So are Twitch, as a matter of fact. If anybody streams on Twitch, I never get them. I don't know what's going on. I've you know, tried to fix them both, but ultimately, like I said, you know, putting them out there, I mean, if you're not interacting, you're not part of the community. To me, your posts are going to die if you're just dumping them anyways. So, I mean, yeah, it might clutter up the thread a bit, but ultimately, I think, you know, it needs to happen. You know, it's not a change that I'm particularly a fan of, but I don't get to make that decision. So, you know, that's kind of where that's at. I don't think, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, you know, it's going to help, because I mean, you can talk about things for so long. Like I can talk about audio all day long and cameras all day long, and, you know, all these kind of things. And, you know, after having those conversations so many times, you know, when they come up, you know, you kind of just want to say, like, just go take a look and read this, because it answers all your questions here. You know, unless it's something very, very specific, or it's, you know, somebody's genuinely stuck. So I feel, you know, in a lot of ways it's kind of gone, you know, down, you know, in that sense. Beyond that, you know, like I said, they want to boost engagement, and hopefully they will get that done. For me, you know, I've always been a part of the group, and I just kind of do my thing, and I just started doing my thing, and just what I do is I like to get things done. I like to think of something, do something, get something done. So, I mean, that's why I have things like the YouTube event on the 25th. I'm just going to do it. And that's kind of it. I don't ask permission, and I generally never ask for forgiveness either. It's just kind of how I operate. Those of you who have known me for a long, long time just know I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do anyways. That's just my personality. It's probably a huge personality flaw that I just do what I'm going to do. It's, you know, I think it's the punk rock in me, you know, the you know, rebellious side of me. Like I just kind of, anytime you give me boundaries and limitations and all that kind of stuff, I just want to say, fuck that and do my own thing. And that's what I have a tendency to do. And it's not necessarily the best tactic in the world, but at the end of the day, you know, it's how I'm wired. It's how, you know, I attribute that mentality to a lot of things, the mountain bike films, you know, winning world championships and fighting and all that kind of crap that I've done. It's because I'm going to go do it, and nobody's going to tell me any different. And that's kind of it. I don't mean to step on anybody's toes by doing it. I just, you know, kind of go, you know, I just kind of go and do what I'm going to do. And, you know, it's, you know, for me, it's all about, you know, improving the community, and doing those things. And hopefully most people recognize that. And hopefully most people recognize that, you know, in my support of things like Twitch Calgary and YouTube Calgary and all that kind of stuff, that all I've ever done is try to, you know, better things going on. But, you know, it's like anything. And I mean, if Brian's still in the chat here, I'm going to have to go back to the things, because I haven't looked at the chat here for a bit. But I mean, Brian will remember going to the YouTube meetups early on. And we, you know, back then we did discuss things like nonprofit, collecting money and all that kind of stuff. And at one of those meetings, I basically said that, you know, the faces are going to change. You know, people aren't always going to agree. You know, it's going to be a ride. Like things will change and people won't like stuff, and, you know, there'll be disagreements and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's a group, it's community, and as a whole, you know, you as people have your vote. You know, it's you guys, you know, make your voice heard and make it known what you like, what you don't like. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And, it's just kind of the way it is. So I'm going to jump back to the comments here. 2 postings a week is dedicated to about posting videos, so that's good. Pete was a big part of that. It's a little putting off getting posts deleted, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, again, it's a community thing. It's community driven. I think, again, there shouldn't be much that's off limits. Maybe put a limit on how much you could share in a week or something like that. Like, again, someone like myself, say you can't share 5 videos every day of the week. That's too much. Pick 1, maybe 2, and kind of limit it at that, and have that conversation. But again, deleting is not necessarily the best thing in the world, but they do have to, take a stand, I guess, somewhere and do their thing. But, to me, it's like, again, the cream sort of rises to the top. If the community likes it and they're involved and they like the person and, that person's involved and they're involved with them, those kind of things will elevate. If, somebody just dumps links, they'll just drop like a rock and they won't be seen. I mean, Facebook's algorithm takes a good chunk of that. You will see things that are highly interacted with, rise to the top and show up in your feed all the time versus stuff that's not, and it'll basically dip. Peter went full savage. That is absolutely true. Scott says, I'm in a similar group that's audio related. That's interesting. I want to hear about that for sure. Look through the list for things to watch. When I had the time, guess I will have to look for a few posts. Yeah, it's just, you've got to change your viewing habits. I've kind of gotten back into going to my subscriber thing and clicking, and actually physically going to the page and checking it out, which is good. If I'm subscribed to you, not good if I'm not, or if I don't know your channel, because then I'll never look for you. And again, it's just one of those things that I just kind of miss out, because those mega threads, it doesn't stand out to me. I mean, to be honest, this is where thumbnails are important for people. Like, if you have a cool thumbnail and you made a post and it looked interesting to me, I would definitely go watch. At the very least, I was going to thumb up your post and the thing. So very, very interesting. Path less traveled, and they have a few rules similar to that. It creates a lot of healthy dialogue, which is good. Healthy dialogue is always good. Jerry says, I think I'd be wasting my time there. I don't know. Like, I watch stuff. I love Jeep stuff, and lots of other people love Jeep stuff and how-tos and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. Josh says, I'm not very active in commenting. Never really my thing, which is fair. Riley says vlogs are on point. Thank you. I am all for feedback, interacting, etc., says Peter, which is always good. Riley says feedback is the key to growth. Always appreciate when people reach out to you and give feedback, which is, so true. It's, it's always good when people take the time to do that, to at least listen. Like, and I'm not saying that you have to, every suggestion that everybody makes, that you have to take it, but it's always good to go. And if you start getting something that's repetitively said, maybe it's time to listen to your audience and take that into account. So listening to feedback. Scott says, respect each other, be kind to each other, no bullying, no negativity. 3, no advertising or promoting, which again is all fair. However, in the YouTube thing, I mean, self-promotion, I guess, is all part of it. I know, again, in the group that one of the things that we had to decided early on was there was no advertising in YouTube Calgary. So myself as a photographer, I would never go to YouTube Calgary and say, this week I have a special on headshots, or this week I have a special on, getting your band, or I have a special on this, or I have a special, a course that I'm putting on and it costs X amount of dollars, come do that. There was none of that stuff, unless you probably, worked out something with the group as a whole. But, generally speaking, there was no promotion for profit, but you were allowed to kind of promote your videos. 4, no referral or affiliate links, no gated links, no newsletter, email list, opt-in lists, or anything else. Those are all pretty solid rules, actually. There you go. Gated links, no referral or affiliate links, I think, is a good one as well. And again, that just comes down to profiting off your peers. And again, like I said, when I started doing Dexpo, I stepped off the Calgary Video Creators thing because I didn't want that kind of conflict, and that's why I stepped it away. People are finding very different ways around advertising. That is very, very true. There is always a way. I feel like the thread is going to turn into help me with my thumbnail to help advertise an upcoming video. I'm not sure where anybody got that idea from. I kind of did it for my vlog this week. I was looking for feedback on my thumbnails, but in my own defense, I will say that I'd been consulting with Matt Mort over some other ones as well, and he gave me some really good feedback for it. Matt helped me with the Ghost Mall video that ultimately went viral. He made some suggestions and I made those changes, and I think a big part of that video's success was partly due to the thumbnail, and that definitely helped out. So I mean, there. But I think you're absolutely right, Josh. I think that there's going to be some creative ways to sort of skirt around it, and we're going to see those happen on a regular basis, which it's kind of comical, but to the same extent, it just goes to show you that people kind of want to get their stuff out there, and they want to kind of get that feedback. And to me, sort of the thing with community, the whole thing with the community is we're trying to all lift each other up. I always say, let's build together. Let's all boost each other up. Let's help each other. Let's watch each other's videos, give constructive feedback, all that kind of stuff. You can help boost people up rather than, not help them at all. And I mean, again, it was all the people that helped me out early on and made comments on my videos and watched my stuff and gave me feedback that always helped drive me to do more. And for that reason, I always try to do it still, especially with new creators, because, it's the community that's going to build things. That's your opportunity for collaborations. I mean, I think everybody that's in this chat, I have some sort of pretty much, we've talked on a personal level in person at some point. And I think almost everybody here at some point would easily send me a message and say, hey, I'm working on this, or hey, we're doing this, or hey, do you want to do this? That's kind of how I like to be. I kind of like to, have those personal relationships. And I think that's super, super important to do. Scott says it forces you to add value to other people's questions and interests. By that token, they tend to care more about your stuff. Absolutely. It's the Gary Vaynerchuk's, jab, 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 right hook. It's give, 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 and then your ask, there's definitely, you can definitely learn more. I will say this. I mean, I've taught a lot of things in my life. I have taught people how to, do martial arts. I ran a martial arts school. I have taught people how to tattoo. I've taught people how to airbrush. I always find I've taught people how to photograph, all these things. When you start teaching and we start showing things, you get a better understanding yourself. This is, me saying this personally, is that it forces me to take a good solid look at something and understand it at a deeper level when I'm helping others. So, the fact that I'm helping somebody do something just makes me better at what I do because my understanding gets that much deeper about it. So I think, caring about people's stuff and commenting and helping them, you're in a reality helping yourself as well. Riley says, not a flaw. You choose what you want. I think that was to my comment much, much earlier. I think Drake said it once, you do you, which is very true, which crazy side note on Drake. If you watch anything YouTube wise, there was a Polish show that does singer imitations, and it kind of broke out, I think, a few days ago. There was a guy that did Drake in blackface and won the show, and it's got a huge backlash there. So there you go. Has video creators created a Discord yet? They do have a Discord, but nobody uses it. It's kind of how that goes. It's one of those things. It's like Calgary Video Creators has a Reddit, and it's hardly used. And that's it's one of the interesting things is that when these things are happening. Like, I mean, it's what people are used to. I mean, the truth of the matter is that Facebook, as much as a lot of us hate it, is still kind of that key hub that everybody kind of uses. And then as you move out, it's kind of one of those fringe things. I think YouTubers as a whole are not as savvy as Twitchers. I know that's why, you know, people like Brian are more likely on Discord and utilize Discord for things like their streams. It's a very effective tool, but a lot of people really don't understand it or utilize it. I have not even actually taken a look at the Discord, and I think there was only maybe 10 people on it. So there you go. Hey, Julie, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Josh says, I like that mentality. I have to get more in tune with that. I'm not sure exactly what I said, but there you go. So that was answering that question. I talked about the Olympic bots. The other thing I guess I can talk about now is essentially that YouTube is on Nintendo today. For those of you who have a Nintendo Switch, they are adding the YouTube app, which doesn't in reality seem like a huge big deal in the sense that they're adding it to a gaming system. You know, things like PlayStation and Xbox, they all have a YouTube app. Most smart TVs have a YouTube app. Why I think this is a bigger deal, the fact that YouTube has added their app to Nintendo, is number one is that besides computers, one of the biggest things that people watch on are mobile devices. So things like your iPhones, things that they have with them all the time. Because the Switch is a mobile gaming system and people are inclined to bring that with them when they travel, when they do things, when they're on the bus, you know, kind of messing around, playing video games, they may in fact utilize that to watch YouTube videos. So I think it's a good move. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think it's really good that they've added it into that system. I personally don't have a Switch. I would love to have one, but kind of not in my budget or price range. Right now, I'm looking at an iPad Pro 2 and, trying to figure out if that's where I want to kind of invest the money. I kind of want to utilize it for sketching and drawing and get into those things. But to be honest, I don't know if it's worth the price tag. And if any of you guys have an iPad Pro 2 with the new pencil, let me know what you think. I went and tried it out. I like how it sketches. But, ultimately at the end of the day, I don't know how it will work with my workflow because I'm heavily marred to my computer and I have a giant Wacom Cintiq, which I draw directly on, even though the thing is probably 10 plus years old. It still kind of does the job for me, and there you go. And I'm looking at the screen, and it was a good call to not change the adjustments there. So, other than that, I don't have a great deal. I'm going to throw the event link back on there. Again, please do RSVP to the event if you are coming. It will help me let the rec room know prior to the event kind of what we're expecting. They've been nice enough to essentially, reserve a bunch of seating for us. And especially since it's Grey Cup weekend, it might get super busy. So as is tradition, which I always forget to do, at this juncture, I am going to hit the play ad button. If you happen to see an ad, let me know. If you don't, let me know. So we're clicking that now. You may or may not be seeing an ad. You might, based on the complex criteria, some of your viewers will see an ad. Keep on streaming. So that's what we're doing. I've clicked this button I don't know how many times, and I don't think anybody has ever seen an ad when I've clicked this button. So it's interesting. Booze reviews, nope. Have a good one, man. Had a great time hanging out with everybody today. That's great. Thanks for tuning in, Josh. And I will just thank, while we're waiting for that to kind of cycle through, is basically say thanks to all our Patreon supporters as well as our YouTube subscribers. So thanks to Mr. Matt Mort. Of course, we've got Post-Traumatic Victory as well. And as well, we've got Reviewing McReviewface. And on the YouTube sponsors side of things, we've got Josh WRB and Mum's Universe. You can check out all those guys' channels. They have some fantastic content there. Nothing for Josh. Cheers. You have a great weekend. You too as well, Ryan. I'm watching you YouTube games, so it may not show up here. Who knows? We will see. But that's all I have time for, you guys, this week. Again, appreciate you tuning in. These streams are definitely a lot longer now that I'm doing them twice a week, probably because, there we go, no ad for CrossFit Cosplay. It's, I think the button just doesn't work is really what it comes down to. But thanks again for tuning in, guys. If you are still here, smash that like button. I know these videos all go on to unlisted and I'm not posting them out anymore, but you know, any likes kind of help. I know that my Go Small videos, I will mention, essentially have gotten to the point, I think, that they've kind of petered out. Today is the first day that in an hour that I've had under 100 views. You know, I'm still surprised at the success of those. I think the first one has currently around the 440,000 view kind of mark. The follow-up is just kind of at the 45,000+ mark. So, I mean, I don't know why they're successful as they were, other than the curiosity thing. I wish it would translate to the rest of the channel, but who knows? You know, the rest of the vlogs are kind of back down to their normal numbers. So we will see. Again, appreciate all the support and everybody sharing those videos. It's been absolutely fantastic. Looked at your Social Blade. You're killing it on views per day. It's been really good, like I said, up until today. Today, there's definitely a dip, you know, and I think it's maybe run out of the algorithm. I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully that, you know, we see some of that translate into, you know, longer term viewers. I'm not sure in a sense, you know, these streams have been more populated. Both streams this week been in double digits, which I'm greatly appreciative of. You guys come and spend this time with me on a weekly basis. But yeah, that's we'll just keep on going, and hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will see you on Tuesday next week. Hope you have a fantastic long weekend, because it is a long weekend this weekend. I believe it's Remembrance Day, so I'm not sure how that translates for normal people, if it's Friday or Monday off. But you know, it's I hope you all have a good time. You know, this weekend, spend time with family, of course. You know, take a moment of silence for all of those who have, you know, sort of given us the lives that we have on Remembrance Day there. I think at some point I may check out the library, hopefully soon, which would be super cool. Dan says 2,000+ views a day, which is a fantastic thing. And that's all I got time for you. So until next time, see ya.